Welcome to Jumpstart number 11, the yellow rose, totally wet into wet. Here's the resource that I chose. It's a photograph from a local garden here in Boulder, Colorado. Oh boy, this is a good time for roses. And this is the drawing that I came up with. And you'll notice that I do quite a significant value drawing for this. And I spent some time on it. And there's certain advantages to this, certain disadvantages. The advantage is I become very familiar with the subject. I know where I'm heading as far as the lights and darks are concerned. The disadvantage is there's way too much graphite on this page, and this is a problem that I deal with in the actual demonstration. So let's get into it. I think that my sketch has a lot of graphite on it. I need to wet the paper down for wet into wet, and I'm going to use this opportunity to reduce the amount of graphite that I have on the page. So a goal here would be that by the time I'm finished painting, there will be no graphite marks left. But a little graphite never hurt. The looks of a watercolor. Sometimes it helps. But you can see that by just scrubbing with my watercolor brush, I really reduce the amount of this graphite on the page. All right, so now let's get into step one. We've got a very wet piece of paper. It's like a lake almost of water. And I'm going to be applying paint with a very wet brush. So this is a very fun step. Very experimental. And this is a very green scene, with foliage. And we look at the resource. And so what I'm looking at is a way to counter that green quality, the overly green quality that I'm trying to avoid here, with some a reddish underpainting. Now this is going to dry very light. You won't even notice it, but you'll notice it enough, and it'll be a good foil for the green. Now I've got a very yellow flower, this rose, and I'm going to look at the complement of that and put a little violet in that area. So this is a scheme for doing an underpainting, which it's not necessary, but you might try it if you've never tried doing the complementary scheme for doing an underpainting. Try it out. Okay. Now, I'm going to go on to step two. I'm going to start drying my brush a bit, and I'm going to be looking at some local colors. In other words, some greens and some yellows, and see how that works with the underpainting. So, yellow. I'm dabbing my brush dry here a bit, and let's just see. Yellow. And some greens, some beautiful greens. Let's see. I'm going to mix a cobalt turquoise with some yellow. You got a really brilliant, almost lime green. Trying to keep it as fun look, I'm trying to get something really exciting happening here, wet into wet. All right, so don't know exactly where I'm going with this. This is an experimental stage, which feeling that way is perfectly normal. And I'm going to go a little darker, but I'm drying my brush still. Yeah, and adjustment strokes. Now it looks like we're getting more fun, wet look to the painting. Now this is going to dry lighter, so it's not very permanent, but it looks good right now. And to make it more of a permanent look, we're going to have to go darker, overlap. So we're firmly into step 3 now. I'm drying my brush as much as I can, and I'm going darker. I'm going to keep my palette dry. I do want keep my flower on the lighter side, but it's time to start working in there, that flower. So now, drying my brush. Got this yellow bud that I want to make sure I don't forget. Orange, kind of an orange feel to it. This is all done with a 2-inch brush. Okay, subtractive painting. Just a dry brush. It's clean. This is a tricky part of the painting because now I can get those bleed backs that I don't like. So I'm going to be very careful. Make sure my brush is drier than the paper. So that the liquid in the paper flows into my brush. Now it's time to get some dark darks. And I'm going to use ultramarine blue, which is a great paint for getting darks, and some yellow. And it's going to be dark enough now. Make sure my brush is dry. At this stage, the paper is still wet, too wet really to let me snuggle right up and get a clean edge, but we certainly can get close. Now I'm switching brushes to a 1-inch flat brush, and I still have not really got dark yet. Something that'll dry dark. I'm going to have to overlap again. In fact, that's what I'm doing. Using ultramarine blue and a little red and yellow just to get something really dark. Now, I think this is going to stay pretty dark. And if you've been counting, this probably third or fourth layer of paint I've put in that area. Still making blurry shapes. So I can't go right up against the edge of the flower yet, which is good. Let's take advantage of those blurry shapes. And I can always go right up against the flower. Now it's time to do something with it. Now I put that stroke down through that. Let's see if that helps the design. Very dry brush. more space in the palette here. And I'm mixing up dry mixes of paint, but thoroughly mixed. I'm not globbing up the paint in my brush at all. I am thoroughly mixed, but just intense and dry. I'm going to dry it a little more. Very dry brush, clean. Turning this into an edge rather than a line. Paper's still quite wet. Try to get rid of some of that. It's a little too dark in there for my taste, so let's try absorbing a little bit of that dark, the dry brush. Make it just a little more colorful application of paint than what I've got. keep it loose. So we're going to be a bit brave here at this stage. Paper is just at that point where it's almost dry. And so this is, we're still in stage 3, dry brush and the moist paper though. We're not treating it as a dry piece of paper yet. Paper. I lied, the paper is still quite moist down here. But up here it's quite dry, so I should be able to pick up some edges and make them firm. So we'll treat this like stage 4, where we can actually get some solid edges. I'm a little premature at this point. But up here I think we'll be okay. Time to blow dry and to get into the end game. So, stage 4, end game, dry paper. Bit too noodly in here. So let's simplify it. I'm shooting for a purple. I need something in the foreground more than I've got. time to pull the plug on this. Any more detail, and I'm going to be taking away from the wet look, which was one of my prime goals on this watercolor. Well, thanks for joining me for the live part of the video. I want to point out that I did a significant amount of finishing up of this painting after the live action part. And I want to point out what I did and why. First of all, I felt the painting had an overall too soft look. And wet into wet watercolor is beautiful that way. It gives you lots of soft shapes. But you need a significant amount of hard edges in the painting to make the soft edges look good. But you'll see in the next two photographs the before and after, and you can judge yourself whether I either made it better or worse, or I could have done something else. So thanks for being here with me, and we'll see you next time for the next Jumpstart.